What is up? Sean Don is back. Technical analysis number 1 of 3 on the day. Here we have Terrence Bobet tossing the weight. Let's take a look. Okay, interesting. This is the first weight throw analysis I've done in a little bit where somebody's actually using the sling start. So, way to go, Terrence, for actually listening to me. So, breaking it down. So, number one, and this is the same for either sling start or wind start or any other kind of start you can think of. Set your posture, Terrence. So before you start, so you're doing these preliminary swings, and you can see right here is a perfect example of kind of improper posture. So you can see your hips are back away, and your shoulders are bent over forward, and there's just this slight angle in the back. Like I said, so if this is 90 degrees, that would be like 75. So there's like a 15-degree-ish difference from if horizontal is 0. I guess this should be 0. So that's like a -50, whatever. Throwing numbers out there doesn't mean anything. Shoulders are forward and hips are back. That's all that matters. That is not ideal. You want your hips forward, knees forward, and shoulders back over the hips. You want your back or your torso, your entire torso, straight up and down, perpendicular to the ground. So another good way to compare it would be to say this is like a good like back squat. So if you were to do like a half or quarter back squat, this is what it would look like. Where I want you to think of more of a front squat position. So like I said, shoulders more over the hips, knees a little bit more forward, hips more forward, torso more upright. So for all you people out there listening, posture should be thought of more as like a front squat position rather than a back squat position. And I know people can still have terrible front squat posture, but for the most part, everybody knows what I'm talking about. So set that posture, get those hips more forward, get those shoulders back over the hips. And like I said, this is the same for any kind of start. So as the ball comes up, you rise up just a little bit. Got this high frame rate. And then, yeah, so same thing as in the wind. If you go back and watch, I think yesterday, the technical analysis on Jaden and Charsky, he does a very similar thing, and as do a lot of people. When they start a hammer or a weight throw, sorry, when you start a weight throw, they bring this ball up, and then they bring it back down, and then it comes back up, and then it comes back down, and then from there, it's hard with that. The vertical movement of that ball when it's going up and down, that pendulum motion is very hard to transition that into rotational energy or to translate that horizontally throughout the ring once it's going more vertical, up and down, like I said. So, like I said, number one, set your posture. Number two, flatten out this preliminary swing, make it more rotational and flat. So, as I've said in previous technical analysis videos of the weight, chest up and keep your hands at about, so like let's see, they come to the lowest point and they get to about hip height, or just below hip height. You want to keep your hands, especially in this sling start entry, at least belly button height. At the very least, I would say think about keeping it chest height, and then because since it's so heavy, that'll end up being about belly button height. So hands up about sternum level, chest height, whatever you want. You got to keep them up more in this preliminary swing. All right, so like rather than bring the ball down and then back up, just think about bringing it flat around you, hands up, chest up, good posture. So that sets everything up well. And since your posture would be better and the ball has less downward momentum or upward momentum, whatever you want to call it, it becomes much easier to use the right side, so use the right leg to propel the ball in the entry, whereas right here, the ball is going to come down and you can't really use your right side at all, and you don't really use your right side at all, so that left side takes over just a bit. So like I said, I'm a fan of doing the sling start over the wind, but when it comes down to it, both the sling start and the wind have to be done correctly. no matter what. You have to have good posture. You have to more or less have a flatter orbit, and you have to use that right side in the entry. And so what happens is I guess what I'm trying to get across with the sling start is that it's easier for more people to do. You can do both correctly, but it's easier for more people to do the sling start correctly. So that's kind of the whole basis here. But yeah, so as you can see, the ball's coming back down. You're shifting back over to that left side, and you're casting the ball outwards. I think one thing that would help, same thing I told Jaden yesterday, take your head and look more like 45 degrees before zero, or even your shoulders are nice and open to what would be 3 o'clock or 270. But also turn your head a little bit too. All right, because if your head is ahead of the ball like it is right now, that's pretty much where it's going to stay, and you're going to feel the tension through the left side, which is not improper, but it's not the best. Once you start feeling tension that left side, rather than with the right side, you're more likely to pull the head or crash or break posture or stuff like that. So open your shoulders up, turn your head to the right a little bit more in this entry, flatten out the entry, and push really. And so these few frames through here, as long as you keep the ball up, so like your hands where they are right now, your shoulders got back over more of your hips, and your hands stayed at this level and just pushed flat across, it would feel slower, but that's good because it sets up connection better. You don't always want to go fast in a throw. Sometimes you want to go slow to set up connection to make going faster in 2 and 3 in the later turns easier. So as you come through, you need to start thinking about working and pushing this right leg, this right foot, this right toe, right knee, right hip, whatever it is. The whole right side needs to start pushing. Everything from your hand down to your foot needs to start working this ball around, long, set up that radius in this first turn. That's what it's for. So when the ball drops like that, your radius gets just a little bit shorter. But otherwise, as it comes through, once it drops and once it starts rising, you do a better job. So the ball is probably just about zero right there. And once you get to zero, then that right side starts going a little bit. Just a hair though. So if you see this right side starts turning just a little bit, but you can see how much more that left side is turning. So like I said, when the ball comes crashing down off of this preliminary swing, like it would off a wind, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's wind or sling. If the ball comes crashing down, you're going to more than likely use that left side to create tension and to get the ball going, which is exactly what happens. Your right side doesn't do much anything in this first turn, and because of that, the left side has to create all the tension and create all the energy. So this left side opens up. Left foot, I mean, it's not, honestly, in terms of dragging, like you're not really dragging the ball, but this right side is just so far behind. Ideally, you want this right side to turn in conjunction with the ball, also in conjunction with the left side. The left side looks like it's pretty much in line with the ball. Ball's right there, left foot's just a little bit ahead, right foot's behind more. And then the left side opens up more. See, so this is not ideal. So at this point, and comes back to your broken posture. You can see your shoulders are forward, hips are back, left foot is open, right foot is behind. This right side's getting left behind, and this left side is so far ahead, whereas when the ball's at 90 degrees, your left foot, everything should be square to the ball when it's at 90 degrees. So left foot, left knee, right knee, hips, shoulders, head, everything should be square to the ball. Nothing ahead, nothing behind. You know, like I said, this right leg's just a little behind. So then as you go through, this right leg's playing catch up. And with this right leg on the ground for so long, you're more than likely going to catch the ball late. Also, your high point is at 90 degrees, a result of that ball crashing down on you in the entry. It should be closer. In the first turn, it's okay for it to be off to the what would be the camera view if you're looking from zero to the right side. So it's all right for your high point to be closer to 90 degrees than it is 180 in this first turn, but I still think it's too close. Like it's right at 90. Ball starts dropping and dropping and dropping from there. And that's going to come crashing down on you and make it hard once again to work that right side. So if you flatten it out and make your high point closer to 180, it's going to be easier to catch earlier and also work that right side more in the later turns. So like I said, this right side's playing catch up at this point. Ball comes crashing down again. Pretty solid patience, like you're not too far ahead of it. But yeah, all this tension is through this left side. You can see this right arm is bent. That right arm should be straight. Posture is suboptimal. Tilted shoulders, once again indicating more left side than right side. Shoulders forward over the hips. Over rotating slightly as a result of right leg being left behind in that first turn. And then from here, you land flat-footed, which is okay. That's totally fine. But it only works if you still turn that right leg with the ball. And you can see the difference in how your feet are lined up. You're over-rotated where your right foot should be back maybe about 6 inches or so. But once again, going back to posture, hips forward, shoulders back. You want to get back against the ball. If you look at all the good throwers, you see their shoulders are almost behind their hips, if not definitely behind their hips. As the ball comes through zero, it means they're back against it, working the pendulum. And then you're doing a decent job holding that left side. The left heel gets down, and right side starting to work with the ball just a little bit more. But you can see at a certain point, that left side just completely takes over. That right foot almost stalls out, and you're still back on that heel. At this point, you should be on the. You can land with your foot flat-footed, but as the ball goes left, you need to be up on that toe, turning it. Otherwise, you can't turn your foot when you're on your heel. Also, indicator that there's too much weight on the right side, and an indicator of too much weight on the right side is also left side pulling. So left side's open, ball's behind, back at 45 degrees or so. Right side has not done anything for like a solid 10 frames there. So this is what I'm talking about. This right side doesn't do much anything in the throw, so the left side, this is all left-sided throw. And then because you don't do anything with the right side, it gets left behind yet again. Left side's so far ahead, right side's so far behind. As it comes around, right side's trying to play catch-up. See if you can sneak it in there. And you come down and you catch a little earlier, more square, not so much around, but you can still see this tension is all through the left side. The ball never quite gets ahead of you. And when you're throwing the weight, it is hard to let the ball go ahead because it is so short and so quick. But you got to do a better job of letting the ball pass just a little bit more. And like I said, pushing more with this right arm. So straighten that right arm out and almost think about, what would be a good analogy? I don't know, doing like almost like a chest fly in a way. I'm hesitant to say that. But this right arm needs to straighten out and push, or at least create some tension and help the ball move across the body. Whereas if it's this left side's just straight and this right arm is bent, that means you're pretty much just pulling with the left side. Hopefully that makes sense. But you come down flat-footed yet again, and you're sinking. You do not want your hips to sink in single support, or double support, sorry. You do not want your hips to sink in double support like they do right here. It means you're giving to the ball, and if you give to the ball, that means you're losing energy. It's not very efficient. And same thing as previous turns. Like I say all the time, what happens in earlier turns is going to be magnified more in later turns. So I bet this left side's going to take over more. This right side's going to get left behind a little bit more. Let's see if you can salvage it. Heel gets down just as ball's inside the right foot, which is good. Posture's slightly better than in previous turns, but the ball's still a little bit low. I think shoulders need to be back more over the hips, straight up and down torso, like I said. That'll make working that right side so much easier. And you can even see the tendency is to get back away from the ball. So these shoulders want to go backwards and create force, but you're just doing it too late. So like once you catch, and then you come down, you give to the ball. At this point, you should be back against the ball, driving almost in the direction of what would be the right sector line if I'm looking at camera view 0. Right sector line meaning like in this direction, almost back towards that tree, sort of in a way. You want to be back against it, driving against it, and then towards 0. Always driving in the opposite direction of where the ball is at until it gets past 0, and then you give to it a little bit. But so you rise up here, So this is what I'm talking about. You don't want to give to the ball, you want to be up against the ball. So you're doing the better job here, working against it. Right side, see, now you're up on the ball of the foot. That's good. That's good. But that left side still leads. There's still tension in this left shoulder. And that right side isn't being used to its full capacity. The left leg straightens out. Ball rises, you rise. And see, so honestly, so this posture right here, it's not ideal in terms of the position of where you are in the circle and where the ball is at. But this position is decent. Shoulders are more back over the hips. Like I said, you finally it's the natural position as you move throughout the throw. If you do enough turns, your body will eventually get into this position because it's powerful. It's a powerful position. And then your right side, because you do rise up, it gives you some space for that right side to get through. And this is going to be your earliest catch, I want to say, but you get a little wide. So if you were able to, like at this point right here, I'd say, oh, this is going to be a great, like this is a decent position. Decent position. Hips could be a little bit more forwards. But then this right side, right leg comes a little bit wide. And you come off the ground just a little bit. See that? Left foot comes off. That means you don't have enough weight on the left side in single support or double support. So that rise up in the previous turn is mistimed, so you come up off the ground. And same thing as in double support, you don't want to sink and give to the ball. In single support, you don't want to rise and give to the ball because once again, that is inefficient. So as you come around, left foot comes off the ground, right foot kind of comes down wide. You're sort of preparing for the finish. Come down and then work the ball through. And see, so this position right here, this is good posture. Your left side's pulling away. Barring that, if shoulders are back over the hips finally. Like I said, this is the power position of the body in the hammer throw. So you need to find that in your entry. And then it'll make working all the other turns so much easier. You get through on the finish pretty well because you do finally get back into that power position. So, yeah. I think I threw a lot of stuff at you. Hopefully that makes sense. But so like I said, one more quick review. Set your posture right from the start, shoulders back over the hips. Flatter entry, keep your hands up, chest height, and then work that right side, work the shit out of the right side. Feel that tension early on, back away from the ball, shoulders back, and then flatten out that first turn or two. Let the ball pass, feel the tension with the right side, not the left side. So, all right, Terrence. If you have any questions, hit me up. Thanks for ordering a technical analysis. Love to help you guys out. If you guys want one of your own, go to www.SeanDonnelly.com. No, SeanDonnelly.biz. Sorry. /services. Instagram technical analysis is $5, and an in-depth technical analysis like this is $15. So invest in yourself, set some PRs, crush some goals. You won't be disappointed. I promise you that. So, all right, Sean Don, peace and out. Until next time, aka 10 minutes from now when I record my second and third technical analysis videos for today.